Though varied, religion is commonplace within the continent. Most, if not all beings, worship a god or pantheon. Be it the Church of the Eternal Fire, the Cult of the Great Sun, or the Pantheon of the Nordlings. For better or for worse, religion is everywhere. However, in this video, I won't be discussing the grandiose. Instead, I'll be looking at a god that resides on the continent, specifically within Velen.
There's something here. Need to use the eye.
No wonder he cursed us. We're doomed!
You's the one brought soured wine. Curse is your fault as much as mine.
What are you doing here?
What? The sun flying from the moon? We're making offerings to the All-God, clearly.
You too can seek his aid. That's if you got fitting offerings. He scorned ours, then cursed the old village.
The All-God, you call him. First I've heard. Is some new deity?
Nay, 'tis ancient, revered by our forefathers. They say it were like this. Roslav of Oriton came here to gather brushwood. And suddenly, for no reason, a bush burst into flame. Then, Roslav heard a voice from the ground, demanding offerings and obedience.
We've been coming here since then, bearing gifts, in exchange for which the All-God watches over us, keeps us from evil.
Plain to see that. So, what's wrong with your offerings?
You needn't mock us, you can see right well we brought scraps. Before the war, I wouldn't give this such to me hounds. But what can we do? Such are the times.
And they're like to get worse. All-God said if he don't get a rafter of bacon and a barrel of beer at least, the rivers will fill up with frogs and lotuses or some such will devour the harvest.
I could intercede on your behalf with this All-God of yours. Got a feeling we'd come to an understanding.
Well, I suppose it can't hurt to try. To speak with him, you have to stand before the altar and cry out, "All God, help a poor wretch in need." Who knows, he might just listen to a foreigner.
This is where the god of this quest is introduced, and Geralt becomes familiar with the All-God's demands. Fitting the region's corruption, the deity asks for food and drink, despite the war raging within Velen. Ignoring this request, and the being threatens to release a curse of frogs and locusts upon them if they do not obey. Drawing from biblical references, the god is already established as a vengeful one, and someone with an almost human desire for earthly pleasures. Despite these harsh demands, the peasants do their best, following the footsteps of their ancestors and continuing to worship the All-God, likely more out of fear than adoration. Geralt clearly sees this and begins his investigation of the area.
Oh, All-God, help a poor wretch in need. Pretty please.
How dare you disturb my divine rest, mortal?
I dare disturb it because I want your divine self to lift the, curse you cast. Those peasants really don't have—
They must bring worthy offerings or they shall face drought, driving hail, earthquakes, avalanches. I have spoken.
Avalanches? Here? How would that work? No answer from the All-God. Fine. We can finish our conversation when I find him. Voice came from underground.
What I find especially interesting about the conversation is not only the threats, but the mention of avalanches. It's clear to Geralt and the player that the All-God is nothing but a facade, a human or being that is pretending to be a god, and yet the villagers are none the wiser. For generations they've followed this deity, and it's almost a certainty that the being has made similar mistakes in the past, promising punishment with outlandish threats, and yet it's never been picked up on. With the peasants' lack of education and complete belief in the being, they take its word as law, placing power onto it purely through blind faith. The creature likely possesses power only marginally greater than them, and yet, through the use of misdirection and the people's desperation, they truly believe it to be a god. It's an incredibly interesting concept, and one I'll be touching more on later.
What? Who dares disturb my divine being?
Geralt of Rivia. Pleasure. Expected the All-God to be corporeal in form, but never thought he'd be corpulent. Fattened up nicely at those peasants' expense.
Expense? Expense? Not a word about the help I give in return. Blessings, absolutions, enlightened advice. Believe me, these folks need all of it. I'd watch over them still if they fulfilled their end. But lately they offer these pathetic scraps.
That they steal from the mouths of their children, and to make matters worse, you cast a curse on them.
And I'll not lift it till they bring me worthy offerings. I'm to settle for curds and whey? Not a chance. And you can tell them that.
Been in this hole long?
For a century or so. One winter I found shelter here. Built a fire so large the flames leapt through the crack, lit the bushes above. I coughed from the smoke, and suddenly heard a peasant. A voice out of nowhere, he called. A miracle. Thus, I became a god.
Parasite, more like.
Maybe so. But what of Freya and Melitele then, Demanding prayers and offerings, giving naught in return? I talk at least.
Meeting the All-God face to face, and you see what he truly is. A Sylvan playing the role of a deity to the people of Oriton. With the unmasking of this being, I think a clear question is raised to the player. What is a god? The All-God holds followers, with each of them believing him to be a creature above mortality, and for their worship, he helps the village with their issues. While lacking in true godly power, the belief of it is placed upon him, and in a sense, he becomes one. The Sylvan even acknowledges his ascension was one of pure happenstance, that an accident caused what was heralded as a miracle. Does that make him any less of a deity? Is it the true powers of a god that makes one? Even this is called into question by the creature, who challenges the place of established gods like Freya and Melitele. These are considered true divine beings, and yet they do nothing for their followers, offering no aid or counsel, while he does. I find it an interesting dynamic, one that questions the origins of all established religions within the continent, and the reason for their worship. In my eyes, the peasants worship the All-God due to a variety of factors. Desperation, tradition, and a lack of knowledge stand at the forefront. As most beings on the continent, they are so ingrained with their ancestors' traditions, they don't dare to question who or what the All-God is. Instead, blindly following him even when their offerings are met with threats and insults. They follow in the rigid footsteps of tradition without ever looking twice at their destination, questioning if who they worship is truly worthy of it. It's a completely human impulse, and only further reinforces my complete love for this quest. As a whole, the greedy god established a wonderfully complex dynamic that I think embodies a theme The Witcher 3, the series as a whole, exemplifies. That power is placed where one believes it. It's an incredibly interesting exploration into the wider landscape of religion within the continent, and for that reason, it's one of my most memorable quests in The Witcher 3.